in that way. It's a very solid distance. But again, I would rather memorize it that it's a solid distance in most of the modes because it's 5 notes away, not because you put a P in front of it. The P shouldn't be telling me that it's a very solid distance. The 5 should be telling me. The 5 notes away distance shows up a lot in all of the modes. If I start on any of these nodes and I go 5 notes away, I get to a distance, and all of them I land on a continent unless I start from the Lydian. So I don't want to memorize that by saying all of them have a perfect fourth. I want to memorize it by saying all of them have a distance from the continent that lands on another continent that does not put us in the ocean if I go 5 notes up from that, or which would be 4 modal or 3 modal half steps would be 4 scale degree up. And I would rather say it was a 5 note away perfect third modal half step. So remember, these are 2 distance terms. So it's 5 notes away, which is dropped. I want to add it back. Perfect. Okay, whatever. You need something in between the numbers, but the 5 is the important thing. And then it's a 4th scale degree, which means, okay, that's because it's off by 1. It should be a 3rd modal half step, right? Because if I'm on the Ionian, I would go up 1, 2, 3 to get to here. 5 steps distance-wise would be here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It gets us to the Lydian. So I would even call that, from a continent standpoint, which we'll introduce next time, a modal range. Where are you going? What's happening here? Well, I'm going from the Ionian to the Lydian. I'm going from the 1 to the 4 from a Nashville number system. I can name the 2 points easily because I'm not going to rename the 2 points as a scale degree every time I'm starting from a different location. Each of these locations has the same distance to any of the other locations particularly easily because we're only going around a block. It's always going in the same order. All right, if I go 6 notes, that's a tritone. We'll go back to that one later. 7 notes, that's the other perfect. 7 notes away, we call that a perfect fifth. So again, this is the inverse. We'll talk about inverses later, but this is the one where they thought this was such a great interval and whatnot. So even though it's just another one of the intervals in the major scale, we're going to call it perfect. So, but again, it's how many notes away is it? It's 7 notes away. So I would name that and say, and I get these mixed up. I think I got it mixed up in my last presentation, the perfect fifth and the perfect fourth, because the perfect fifth isn't 5 notes away, it's 7 notes away, right? But I would say, look, it's a 7 note away perfect fifth, and that'll help you to kind of get it in your mind, as opposed to the 5 note away, which is a perfect fourth, right? So those 2 things are easy to get mixed up, which I do all the time, and I apologize for, so bear with me as I my mind gets those backwards all the time. So it's a 7 note away perfect fourth. So that means that if I was it should be that 7 notes away is if I start here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it lands us on the X, which is for Mixolydian mode, or the fifth from a Nashville number system. If I start here, it's going to be, if I count that as the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's why it's the 5th scale degree. But really, I should count from here 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 modal half steps up. Notice if I say it's modal half steps up, I have to determine the node that I'm on, because the note distance is not always the same. But if I know the node that I'm on, then the distance is always going to be the same, because again, the things are always in order. They were going around the block. So I would prefer to call it a 7 note away perfect 4th modal half step. That would be a more precise or proper measurement term in my mind, I think, just objectively. So if someone says it's a 7 note away perfect 5th, or just perfect 5th, I would say in my mind, okay, it's a 7 note away perfect 4th modal half step, which is a 5th scale degree. See, and that allows you to then see distance-wise and actually count it on the guitar or the piano properly. And it allows you to do it without making whatever note is the 1. If they do that from here, it's a perfect 5th from here, from that E. I don't need to rename this to say, okay, that's the 1 now. it was the 3 or the Phrygian, and now it's the Ionian or something, right? I don't need to do that, because I'm just going to say, okay, it's a 7 note away, and it's a perfect fifth, which is a fourth modal, half step up. Okay, so then the next one is going to be, where did my cursor has frozen? Let's go to the next one. We're going to skip the 8 note away, and we're going to go to the 9 note away, which is a major 6, because the 8 note away is not in the major mode. It'll land you in the ocean. So a 9 note away is going to be a major 6. So we're going to call that a major 6, capital M6 or MAG 6. And we're going to say that if someone says major 6, I would add the 9. Major 6, what does that mean primarily? It means that it's 9 notes away, unless it's an octave higher or something like that, in which case you add 12 to it. So I would call it a 9 note away major 6. So if you start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 gets you from the Ionian to the Aeolian if you start on the Ionian. So if I'm on the Ionian, then if I make that the 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sixth scale degree. But scale degree isn't exactly the proper term, because I can have these same collection of notes and start from any node within them. So I'd prefer to call it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fifth modal half step, which would be the sixth scale degree. So if someone says it's a major 6, I'm thinking in my mind, all right, it's a 9 note away major fifth modal half step, which would be the major 6th scale degree. And I would like to replace the major with whatever node I'm on. Right? I don't even need the major. I could just say it's a 9 note away 5th modal half step or 6th scale degree. And if I was on like the Lydian or something like that, right? And then I could say, and so I would like to call it a 9 note away. If I keep the major 5th modal half step, which would be the 6th scale degree. All right, 10 is not going to be in as well, so we're going to move then to 11. So I'll remove these. I'm going to try to keep this one for now. What's going on here? Get this over here. Okay, so it's going to be an 11 note away major 7th, which we can call a capital M7. And again, if someone says it's a 11 note away major 7, I would add, if they say just major 7, I would add the 11. Say it's an 11 note away major 7, and beyond that, I would say it's an 11. If someone says it's a major 7, I'm thinking 11 note away, maybe major. I can keep the major in there, but I'd like to use another term. But 11 note away, 6th modal half step, which is the 7th scale degree. So in other words, if I was on this as the 1, if that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th scale degree. But if I count from that point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6th modal half step from a proper distance standpoint, that's going from the Ionian node to the Locrian node. If I count all the notes, including the oceans, it's going to be from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Gets me to a landmass of the Locrian, or the 7 Nashville number system. All right, let's go back to the minors that we skipped now. So the ones that we skipped is a minor second. So now the minor second, why is it's a 1 note away? It's a minor second. Why is it a second? Well, we still are using the idea of scale degrees. And if I go from the first to the second, I don't quite make it to the second here. So it's from the perspective of the major, it's 1 step back. So you can see it as basically the minors are typically a flattened or 1 step back from the major. So normally, so basically everything that is a major here and not a perfect will have the minor, which is 1 step back, which normally you can think of as the minor will be in the main minor, which is the same collection of notes if it's the relative minor starting from the A or Aeolian. That would be the minor scale. Same collection of notes, but you start from the 6, 7, up to here. But they make that the 1. I wouldn't make it the 1. I would use the Nashville number system idea and keep that as the 6. The minor just means you're on the continent of Aeolian, and that's your center point. And you measure everything from that continent. I don't need to rename the continent. If I want to name it continent number 6, then I keep it at continent number 6. It's the same continents, right? But you would think that there would be a distance from that minor if I went one node away, and it wouldn't land me in the ocean, but it does. It does land me in the ocean.